are. I'm here today with Paul and sorry, I forgot to introduce myself. I'm Anna, and we're here for the draft show, where our illustrious captains, who were some volunteered, some you know were asked to lead today, and they're just here to make their teams find the winning formula to hoist that trophy at the end of summer LoL.
Yeah, and it seems like the captains are slowly converging. They will have to do a couple of things to make sure that everyone's here, they are ready to draft and whatnot. But the list of captains are as follows. There is Kinney, Yeetor, I Love People, Madre the Flame, Riot Zmax, X Fanfi, Mango Stalker, JS Bach, Voidless, and Sober Teddy. Some of the captains are currently not present and they have set up a draft proxy in or their trustworthy advisor to keep it rolling, but we'll see how things pan out for both the captains and their draft proxies. On that note, let's talk about draft format and rules. Can you tell us, Anna? Can you tell us a bit about the format and the rules that we are going to use?
Yeah, Paul. So the draft's going to be pretty straightforward. It's going to be a reverse snake draft where each captain picks their team of four additional players. There are a total of 40 players available to be drafted, and all of them will be drafted by the end. So no man left behind. Each captain will have a draft slot from 1 to 10. Draft slot number 1 picks on the first round, slot number 2 picks on the second round, and so on until slot 10 picks last on the first round. But since it's snake draft, slot 10 will be the first one to pick in the second round, and so on. So the captain that picks first overall will also get last pick in the entire draft. So it's a bit of a trade-off. The draft slot's going to be determined through a selection process prior to the draft, where lowest ranked captain gets the first choice of where they want to go in the slot. So all the captains will have, I guess, an idea of what order they want to go.
Yeah, and on that note, let us transition over to the draft show or the specific slide for the drafts, which we can see as wonderfully done. And the order of picking will become in the form of Madre the Flame picking first, then I Love People, JS Fox following, X Fanfi, Yeetor, Voidless, Sober Teddy, Kinney, Riot Zmax, and last but not least, Mango Stalker. It will come in the following. The order of the captains are not related to the way they chose. Some captains decided to choose first, for example, Madre the Flame, who won the last tournament, if I remember correctly, and has been winning consistently for past couple of years, decided to be first pick in the list because he apparently loves being the first. And it also sponsored by a wonderful background picture. But yeah, on that note, can you let us continue more about the draft? Can you tell us more about the process?
Yeah, so each captain will actually have 2 minutes for each pick, and the captains automatically get one timer extension where they'll get an extra 2 minutes for one of their four picks. If the captain has not selected a choice by the end of their allotted time, the player highest on the draft list will be automatically chosen for them. As you've mentioned, Paul, some of the captains here today weren't available, so they asked for a proxy to draft for them. The proxy themselves don't necessarily have to be on the same team as the captain, so they are here with good faith, and draft picks are final, and they cannot be changed or traded afterwards.
Yeah, and that is the fundamental rules about the draft and whatnot. So let's actually talk about the general information regarding the people who will be drafting. For example, we actually have a lot of captains who are ADC mains. So we can probably assume that the role of ADC it will not be so highly contested. But on the other hand, there is
It's
one role. Yeah,
yeah, no, you complete your thought first, Paul.
yeah. So on that note, there's actually one specific role that will be highly contested, and that will be jungle. There is usually not enough jungle, anyways. And what ends up happening is that there's around 16 people who can play jungle first or the second pick, but then there's actually 15 people who say that their absolute worst is the jungle. So honestly, that jungle role will be heavily contested. So will be the ADC as follows for the captains who don't have the ADC captains.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, Paul, the available pool of people to draft who chose ADC as their first primary position, there's only 3 out of 40 people who said that they're an actual ADC main. And to make it even worse, there's only 3 people who said that ADC is their secondary main role. No one wants to play ADC in 2021 Summer LoL except the captains. So all the captains who who don't main ADC are in a bit of a pinch. Our channel favorite SK Telecom T1 says ADC is a dog role, and this might be a widely doubted sentiment because we just don't see ADC mains in this roster, just in this pool.
I mean, yeah, and honestly, one of the people who put support or secondary role ADC is you, Anna. And let me ask, how comfortable are you with the ADC role?
Not at all. That was actually a throwaway. I didn't expect to. I hope I'm not being drafted as an ADC. It's going to get real dicey down there. So I'm hoping that what actually happens is that the 5 people who said that Phil is their primary role
Mm-hmm.
will actually be like pretty top tier because they're going to help balance out these rosters. I think it's super crucial for any of these teams to have people on their primary role unless the drafters, the captains, know how comfortable the person that they're drafting is on in other lanes because
Yeah, and that's
most
total.
people, a lot of people are just one tricks. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's generally in our Williams College in-house tournament, or not in-house tournament, but in-house League of Legends fights. That's also what actually happens as well. Some people are better than others in some roles, and in the end, there are people who are last pick. I'm one of them, so I can talk about myself. And honestly, what I ended up learning is to basically play every single role except for jungle. So this also adds on to how hard jungle is. I don't know how ganking works and whatnot, but every other role I can do somewhat. I just gotta make sure
Mm-hmm.
I farm it up and whatnot. But honestly, that's is the general things. But now they have a lot more choices. Instead of picking out of 8 people, they get to pick out of 40. Of course, they won't be able to get their top 4 in the list, but we'll see how the captains will optimize their trade-off between the
Mm-hmm.
player they really want versus the player that are in the need of playing a little bit more defensively per se.
Oh yeah, definitely, Paul. A lot of these tournaments end up being, who's the most underrated player. There are a lot of every tournament I've seen so far. You always have the hidden gem, the person, the diamond in the rough. They have a hard time in the beginning, but by the end of the tournament, they end up being super, super valuable, and they end up actually carrying their team. So I'm excited to see, who pops off in Winter Lull, and it's up to the captains today to figure, to scout that out, to see, to check every rock, to check every corner, see who exactly they can polish today.
Yeah, and honestly, I do remember a couple of years back. It was way back into the back, but when Voidless, one of the captains today, was actually one of those hidden picks. People didn't know who Voidless was, and if I remember correctly, Voidless did get the win. And it also is the case for the most recent tournament with Ducky, the jungler, who was able to just do a jungle gap for so many people. So we'll have to see how things pan out.
Yeah, Paul. And oh, one thing that we didn't mention is just camaraderie. A lot of captains have explicitly brought in their friends for this tournament, and a lot of players in themselves have explicitly, you know, answered in the surveys that they want to play League of Legends with certain captains in their Tinder bio. For instance, JP Morgan Ann says, "Please pick me and Ducky." So I'm just excited to see if they're going to be drafts intended for certain people. Oh, and we are in.
Yep.
And
And
no, Madre. Why, Madre?
you
Why?
are the first pick. Any thoughts? You have the honor of getting first pick. Madre specifically chose that first person, or the first pick because he wanted that special person. And I think you are the honored person. What do you feel?
I explicitly said, please do not draft me in first round.
Well,
It's over, Paul. It's over.
to do that, you're a little too high up in the list, but yeah. So you are first pick, and I suppose you will get your support role because Madre the Flame is an ADC. That is 1+ for you. I suppose Madre really wants that dominating bot lane. On the other hand, I Love People has picked SK Telecom T1. He is a mid laner, and if I remember correctly, I Love People does go ADC as well. So they are trying to get that mid lane, or they're prioritizing on the mid lane. JS Bach is a mid laner, and he's put honor level 0, the Night Rise. And honestly, I thought the Night Rise would be one of the first. I honestly thought Night Rise would be the first pick because he is one of the top tier
Oh,
junglers.
he's a high, yeah,
Yeah.
he's a high value pick, and I want to definitely see the jungle mid synergy coming out of JS Bach and Night Rise 3 or Honor Level 0. I just want to also point out that X Fanfi picking Bloody Ninja 112, 1122, sorry, is super on point. We've talked about team captains and their synergy with the players that they know, and boy, do they know Steve. Steve is that ergot top player that X Fanfi is very familiar playing with. So I'm fully expecting him to pick Inspiring 309 on the second run through.
Yeah, and as we can see, we can get things updated. But on that note, Rich Game Buddy, he's really low on the list in our current list. But honestly, he's a really solid jungler. He just hasn't been playing the solo rank and flex rank so far. He's been playing Aaron with me, and when Doctor Omega LOL as well. But he is one of the really solid jungler that has been taken away. On that note, Liquid Blade, who was
And he's a very strategic
yeah,
player.
yeah.
Yeah.
On that note, Liquid Blade has been taken away. He's a mid support main, and he does have the potential. He can carry really hard. And followed by Fyro. If I remember correctly, he did put Phil as his role, and he can go mid ADC and top, so he's a really flexible pick. On that note, any thoughts on boot
Yeah,
lane?
I think it's a great pick.
Hmm.
I think Boot Lane is a fantastic fill player himself. Um, I am surprised that we don't see Abraham Park in this tournament, but he is with Kinney. I think the two, there's a lot of like synergy with those two players themselves.
Hmm.
I actually want to really point out that Inspired 309 got sniped by Riot ZMax.
Yeah.
So it's and while Inspired 39 is a jungle main, he can play other things. So we kind of have ZMax collecting jungle mains right now.
Yeah.
Mango Stalker picking Brishan and King of Conquest. King of Conquest LV is a jungle main, and Brishan himself is mid. So Mango Stalker has instantly picked out his top side, making sure that he's safe and sound up there. Quick pickup for Niles War Koala by Riot ZMax. That is a team filled with synergy. A lot of those players have played a ton of games together. War Koala himself was at one point a master tier Shen.
Yep. And honestly,
Solid pickup overall.
solid pick. On that note, just give me one moment. Something funky is happening. But on that note, any thought on So far, we currently have the first picks for every captains. Do you have any thought on like why they're drafting? For example, you yourself are. I will bring this back and again. You yourself have been picked by Madre the Flame, but honestly, that's because he probably wants a really strong bot lane. Captain himself is confident about his skills, and he just wants to roll it down. How about the others?
I think a lot of captains chose the lane that would best support them.
Mm-hmm.
Or they chose, it's either that or they went by the other synergy. Some captains chose, their friends. We talked about X-Fampy and Bloody Ninja,
Uh-huh.
lots of built up trust. We talked about right Zmax and Spine 3 and 9, even though they're both jungle mains, a lot of synergy and a lot of games played, and I think that's super underrated. Because even if people are uncomfortable in their roles, if they're able to synergize and win team fights after, then like whatever small disadvantage they have in laning phase won't really matter quite as much. But we're just seeing rapid fire picks here.
Yep.
We got the silver, or I can't say the silver smurfer
He's a
anymore. I gotta
plat
say,
smurfer now.
yeah, the Pletzer smurfer, green epic, with Rich Gang Buddy and Yitor. That is a strong team.
Yeah, and mhm.
Meanwhile, sorry, I totally forgot. Police Defender going with Voidless is an absolute classic. They are a dynamic duo in the bot lane. I faced them multiple times. They are they're gonna be one of the strongest bot lanes to watch out for sure.
Yeah, on that note, we have other people. Kinney has taken Fook, so quite unfortunately, I'm not the most versatile in terms of these specific individuals. Quite unfortunately, I know majority of the Williams people, but that is extent of my knowledge, and I must apologize to our viewers who are wondering, hey, who are these people? Well, sorry, I am not the most knowledgeable. I have been taking my hiatus on my in-houses, and so I don't have as much information. But Fook, I can talk about, is a top support player who loves to split push. And honestly, what are your thoughts on split pushers?
I actually think Fook is probably one of my. I personally am surprised he made it to round two. He would have been one of my top round ones. There aren't many top laners
Hmm.
in this tournament, and Fook is this second highest top laner like around. And I think whenever there is a gap in top lane talent, you like split pushers just have that much more value because they can punish their opponent that much harder.
Hmm.
So I am super excited to see Fook picked up early in round two. Yeah, I mean he plays a ton. I think he'll do great with Kinney and boot lane.
Yeah. And how about NA? So this man is a mid ADC, mid primary ADC secondary, and he plays any kind of ADC in bot lane. And apparently he plays couple of champions in mid. Do you know anything about Mr. NA?
So all I can say is that I don't personally know NA,
Hmm.
but between Sober Teddy, Pharaoh, and NA, we have a really strong, flexible three-man roster.
Yeah.
Sober Teddy would be a rock up in top lane with NA in mid, and that means Tony or Pharaoh is able to go basically anywhere that Sober Teddy needs him to be.
Yeah.
So that's just a level of that's that level of flexibility you get when you draft a fill player or a player who said their primary role is filling.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see how they would end up. And we have Kraber as the second pick from Madre the Flame. Kraber is a jungle main. Fantastic pick, Eric. Thank God. Thank God we got one.
And it seems like your captain has chosen JP Morgan, and he was also part of the squad. JP Morgan and is a top laner, but I do know that he has not been playing League of Legends for quite a while, and he is missing out on his friend Ducky. So we'll have to see how JP Morgan and brings himself back in form, because a couple of years ago, back when he was in college, he used to be one of the top or one of the highest one of the people with highest LP and such, but now he's maybe slightly off form, so we'll have to find out how that goes. On the other hand, one of the
That's what
Mhm.
I thought.
Yeah, continue.
Oh, sorry. That's what I thought about JP Morgan and for Winterlull.
Hmm.
But he was in the winning roster with Madre the Flame for Winterlull. So we
Yeah,
do have two players from from the last Golden State Warriors. I don't even know which um, basketball team is in it nowadays, but
hmm,
we got two former champs here together. But a great pick by I Love People. He chose Kingslayer. Lots of lots of synergy down in that bot lane if I Love People does decide to go ADC.
yeah, and honestly, there's also a meme around going about how Sung and Jamie, or I Love People and Kingslayer are a lovely duo. We'll have to find out how lovely that will be. But we'll have to see. But Kingslayer definitely a solid support player, and it seems like we get to see things slowly develop. For example, but on the other hand, since we talked about JP Morgan, I will have to bring the topic back to Greenepic. I do remember Greenepic beating JP Morgan and badly. But that's top lane. How
Ooh.
important is it? That comes back to the question of, even if Greenepic destroys JP Morgan, who won the tournament? That's all I'm going to say. you know, But to be fair, I'm a
Oh
tank top
man,
player,
Paul.
so I am a tank top player, and I usually play the what you would call it, the Ornn, the Malphite, the press R, and let my team do the
Yeah, the
work. So
absorb
that's my
pressure
mind. That's
kind of
my mindset.
characters.
So, I can't really say much about those people who can shred through the top lane and force one person or more than one people to come down to the top lane or later on in their own lane. And with the introduction of Hullbreaker and whatnot, that's one scary. If you do have one scary split
But
pusher, that could be devastating.
it's true, and we've seen Yorick's end games by themselves on that Hullbreaker.
Yep.
Um, so I'm super excited to see. I think top lane has definitely become a much more important role
Mm-hmm.
thanks to the new items.
Yeah.
So, and they have a lot more agency than they used to. So we'll have to see if investing in top lane, pays out in the tournament.
Yeah. And on that
But
note,
we have a
mhm,
long pause
yeah.
from XFampy here as he's really deliberating on his third pick. And he picks Marmufa. Marmufa, fantastic Thresh player, probably one of the best playmaking supports in our roster pool. So excited to see him picked up.
Yeah. And on that note, JS Vog has chosen Denevelin, who is a top support player. So it seems like JS Vog, he has, well, Chicken Bagels is he a jungler or a support? In this case, I'm going to assume he's support because he does have the honor level 0. And it seems like JS Vog is pushing off to the ADC to the very end of things, which I am surprised about. But on that note, Yitor has picked Entropy. And honestly, Rich Game Buddy, Green pick Entropy line is a lineup that I have played many times with. And any thoughts on that?
Yeah, lots of Etor seems to be going for the strategy of lots of built-in synergy. That is a team well oiled. They're just gonna mesh fantastically well on there. I do believe that Entropy will be playing support as Green Epic is in the top lane.
Hmm.
So we'll have to see if which of these captains end up getting Exodia, all
Yep.
5 players in their original role. And Voiles drafts Lightning Fist, whose name, who's has a very similar name. He is Eric Johnston.
Yep.
Played a lot of games with Voidless. This is a very familiar roster, and he's a top lane main. So
I have to
I
ask,
do.
hmm do you
I go first.
remember if they're all Hamilton? Because Voidless has been saying that he wants to draft all Hamilton people. And uh,
So the only Hamilton person he's drafted so far is Police Defender.
ah,
Royalist's plan has been a bit thwarted. We did have a couple Hamilton people picked up early.
hmm
Chicken Bagels was stolen. NA was stolen. Brishan, again, stolen. It's, or not really stolen. Royalist just didn't pick him up
that's true. He,
in that first round.
that's
So,
quite unfortunate, but I suppose we'll
you know,
find out how things will happen with the well, the broken up Hamiltonians. Let's put it that way. But on that note, Sober Teddy has picked Cherry Boba. Any thoughts on him?
Cherry Boba is man, I associate Cherry Boba with being the best initiator around.
Hmm.
Do you remember that game? I forgot what the game was called.
Okay.
When it's basically werewolves, where there's a designated inter, and they gotta
Oh,
they gotta
yes.
like help their
Uh-huh.
team, help the enemy team win.
hmm
Do you remember what that game's called?
The well, are you talking about in terms of League of Legends?
Yes, it's when we played it in League of
Yeah,
Legends.
it's
We
called
had a custom
Intals.
game.
Yes, Intals.
In-house.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I don't Cherry Boba is forever the best in-houser in my mind because of that fantastic Mordekaiser game where he picked Mordekaiser top and he kept ulting Green Epic's Alawi and they would just dance in the realm together.
Well, hopefully, Cherry Boba will bring out his own power instead of doing his team a favor. Now it's no longer the in-house; it's more of a in-house. We gotta win. We gotta prove that we are the best. And yeah, no, all screams have to be played in in-house format. Please don't do that. That would be madness, Penbui. But on that note, Kinney has picked up Angus McRib. He is a top laner. And he does said that he is a jungle secondary, but he is notorious for his Tom Kench and a Poppy. I don't really, and also Tom Kench has recently got its rework, and people have been talking about how strong Tom Kench is. So I wonder how that will pan out.
Oh yeah, Tom Kench right now is absolutely filthy. Riot has unbenched the Kench and he is out on the Rift. I know a lot of top laners in this pool are actually practicing Tom Kench for this tournament.
Yeah, and I remember.
He's yeah, go for it.
Okay, so I do remember last night people were talking about picks and bans and what to play, and they've been talking about Tom Kench. They apparently it's unbeatable in lane. Of course, that could change with the jungle diff, as top laners love to say, but we'll have to see how that pans out.
Most certainly. And I'm actually very surprised to see First Seraph picked so late in the third round. I think he's a very substantial player. Again, we talked about the amazing abilities or amazing benefits that comes when you have a player who says their primary role is fill. So I'm really glad to see him picked up by Riot ZMAX, like underrated player, even though he says he's a bit rusty right now.
Yeah, but honestly, you've hit the high ranks, and honestly, he is on the upper end of the tier list, and for Riot ZMAX to snipe him at such a low pick. That's honestly that itself is very very fortunate for Riot ZMAX. Honestly, I know that I shouldn't be biased, but I do root for Riot ZMAX, and I hope that Madre the Flame, despite being good
What?
friends with people and include that as I do know that Madre the Flame has perfect you, but honestly, I think God has to hand over his throne to some a new king. It should be the end of SKT. I apologize, but that's what I feel like. I'm sorry, but
Are you telling me that you want to hand over Runeterra to the guy who mains Viego during the Ruin King event? I
yes,
don't know if we should be
yes,
doing this, Paul.
yes.
Oh, and a great pickup. We see Flight of the Flake and Dream Eater going to Mango Stalker. So Mango Stalker rounds out his 5-man roster. Kazi on Dream Eater, he's a regular in the Discord group, and I think he's a fantastic support. Again, we see Lady Tree picked up as well, though she has been absent, like more recently, as
She
she
is
is an
not
absolute classic.
exactly absent. I will tell you that she has been playing a lot of ARAMs with her cohorts. It's just that they are hard to
Okay,
find
so her
nowadays.
mechanics are super solid then. Anyone who plays ARAM knows how to do team fights.
Yes, that's one thing for certain. And also, Lady Tree, her Zyra is not something that you should let go of. I have dealt with Lady Tree, one time and or over a long duration, and her Zyra is something to never forget. The only problem is that every time, this is a little side story, but every time she always says, her tier belongs with my tier, and honestly, I haven't been playing League of Legends recently, so I don't know what to say much about that. But on that note, Glick666 has been picked up by Kitty. Any thoughts on Glick666?
I personally don't know Glick666,
Mm-hmm.
but I do know he's a support main with a wide varied pool, and he's a filthy hooker. The guy plays Blitzcrank as his best champ.
Okay, to be fair, Blitzcrank, always a solid pick. Always better with an unsealed spellbook. You can never let go of that moment when you outsmite the jungler in the Baron Pit. I've done it once. I will always remember that day. But yeah, Glick666, if I remember correctly, he was a solid support player back in the old days when I was in college. That's actually not that far, but quote unquote period. Anyways, on that note, Ari Saxon has been picked. Any thoughts on him? He's Oh wait, I know this man. He's if I remember correctly, he did play a while and he used to play support, but that's because he hasn't been playing around too much. But we'll have to find out how good he is now. My guess is that he is a little bit rusty, but he is someone to never go unnoticed. But
Yeah,
yeah.
and Ari Saxon says he describes his own champ pool as dog shit, pog shit champs. So I am looking forward to what he brings out for this tournament. Voidless rounding out his roster with Lightning Fist and Snuggle Hero. So those are two of my friends. They have a lot of synergy. They play tons of games together, and Voidless knows this because he joins us for our in houses.
Hmm.
So good to see the full 5-man roster. Not Electro is picked up by Yitor and Cole by X Fanfi. I just wanted to do a shout out. I believe it was Cole who provided this fantastic Summer Lowell background and icon for us.
Yes.
So thank you, Cole. We'll call it modernistic impressionism.
But on that
And
note,
mhm.
Titan, I can't really read this. T1, T4, NIWNL. I'm a boomer, but apparently he's a new person. He's a class of 2024, so I don't really know who this man is. Despite being from Williams, I haven't been participating too much about in-houses. Have you? Will be my question for you.
Okay, so I know JS Bach's usual strategy is that he goes for
Mm-hmm.
the full Exodia. So
Okay.
he himself is a mid main, honor level 0, jungle, chicken bagel support, benevolent top, and Titan is a recent dedicated ADC player.
Yep.
So he has completed all 5 pieces, and that's his strategy of going for that win.
Yeah.
Obliterating his opponents.
And honestly, we
So
currently.
I'm excited to see.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
now
go for
we
it.
have two more people about to be picked, and we'll figure out that sooner or later. But we have 8 people who have completed their squad, and you mentioned how JS Valk has matched his Exodia. And as we talk, Cloak and Raven has been picked up. Um, any thoughts on Cloak and Raven?
Yeah, so Cloak and Raven is a great Galio mid. Um, I'm excited to see the team fight potential coming out from Cloak and Raven. Especially because if I Love People does end up going. Oh wait, actually wait. I Love People already has SK Telecom, so
Yeah,
Cloak and Raven can't go mid. She'll have to go
that's true.
somewhere else.
Huh. Well, let's
She
we'll
either has to go top or ADC, depending on where I Love People himself goes.
That is true. Maybe Isla people want to go somewhere else. We'll have to find out. But on that note, where is Shiny? Where's Shinefly? I need to where I
I
let's
I believe
Fly
Shinefly
is a
is
jungler.
a jungle main.
Yeah. So if he does that, probably what he could do is Isla people could go top. Cloak and Raven said they're mid jungle, so I honestly have no idea how things are going to pan out. But in the end, the toxic name himself, the Timo main. Oh my, I have lots of traumas with Timos. They are they don't make my life as happy in the top lane. But he has been picked. He's a top mid player, but apparently he's 90% made of Teemo, 10% out of Fizz. And honestly, those two champions does raise my blood level every time. Teemo with that blind. I do play ADC quite often, and the Teemo with the blind or the Fizz himself does often erase people. But on that note, that does conclude our 2021 draft. Any thoughts on the individual teams? Let's get started with our first pick and the former champion, Madre the Flame. Any thoughts about Madre and his squad?
It appears as like Madre chose just to pad his own side. Because he first picked a support main as an ADC player. So I think Madre is just going for a comfortable laning phase in hopes
Uh-huh.
that he himself can carry.
Yes. I mean, Kraber, if I remember correctly, is a really solid jungler. Sometimes he does occupy himself more with the farming than ganking. But that was a perfect meta before. I do know that like current meta is or current solo queue meta is more on ganking. But this is in houses or this is our summer LoL tournament, and we definitely behave differently because I remember a couple of years back, Garen was a very solid pick, and I remember Sun King or I Love People, the captain himself, ended up joining Garen because he couldn't shred through the Garen himself. So on that note, we have Madre and you in the bot lane, Craver playing the jungle, and JP Morgan and Timo main XXX probably flexing between the top and the mid. So Timo Main does has said that
Mm-hmm.
he could go mid. J.P. Morgan and definitely a scary Singed pick. There are not that many people who play Singed, so that should be a ban. But then again, no one else has been playing against Singed, so that is one scary pick. So you said that Madre the Flame is well. He's just patting his back. How about I Love People? Any thoughts on
I
his
Love
squad?
People, I think, he has a really well, he had like almost all of Exodia
Mm-hmm.
until the very end. Um, Assuming he's playing ADC, he could also flex top. We got, the Rock himself, SK Telecom T1,
Mm-hmm.
the faker of the tournament. We got Shinefly, reliable jungler, Kingslayer, tried and true support, and Cloak and Raven, who I haven't played with yet, but I'm assuming I Love People has a plan. He's got the mind games.
Yeah, hopefully that his mind game does work out, or maybe Culkin Raven will be the superstar top laner. That could happen, right? But on that note, how about JS Vog? You've said
Hmm.
Exodia. Tell us more.
Yes, JS Bach always goes for Exodia, and he has achieved it. Um, we spoke about it a bit earlier, but JS Bach's probably going mid on reserve jungle, Chicken Bagels support, benevolent benevolent top, and Titan for the win ADC. He has everybody in their most comfortable role, which will mean that everybody's going to be able to do their jobs easily without having to like deal with that level of discomfort. They're going to be a smooth machine.
Hmm. Yeah, and honestly, it's one of the few cases. How about Xfampy? Well, how about his squad?
I actually think Xvampy has the most like even
Hmm.
roster.
Okay.
But at the same time, I don't even think he needs that. From my experience being in a summer lull team with Xamphy just carries the game by himself, and then the rest of the team doesn't really matter.
So,
Um, so, I think, yeah, like the team matters, but at the same time, it's
hmm,
it's Xamphy.
yeah, that's fair. And if we look around the law roster, Xfampy is what Xfampy is a mid laner, followed by Bloody Ninja, who's a top lane, and Marmufa is a support player. Cole is, give me one moment. Cole is mid top player. So it'll be interesting to see how which people who goes where. But I do know that XFAMP has said that he does play ADC, so maybe he'll flex around that. And Dr. Omega Lol is a jungler. He has played and he has shown me many couple of insects, not too many, but he has shown me that he can do the insect kick on the Lee Sin. So that's a what well we'll have to see how things will round up. Anyways, on that note, we have Mr. Yeetor. Any thoughts on him?
And Yitor went for the ARAM Classic. These are all tried and true players on the Howling Abyss. They have a lot of synergy from their games played together. I think they're going to be fantastic in team fights.
Hmm. And honestly, Yeetor is one of the people who said that they are Phil. That he's the only captain who said that his primary and the secondary role is Phil. And on that note, rest of the teammate they are a lot more rigid. Rich Game Buddy is definitely a jungle pick. Green pick is definitely a the top laner. And Entropy, because we have Green to pick on the top lane, he will most likely be support. Though Entropy has been playing ADC, that is something to be noted. And not Electro has stated that he goes ADC or mid. So we'll have to see how things pan out. Yitor said that he
Yeah.
cannot play jungle, and that's why he got a Rich Game Buddy as his first pick. And he's.
So Yitor had a plan,
Mhm.
and I think that's great. He balanced out both, the power of friendship, which anime has taught me always wins, and on the other hand, he also got Exodia. So how
Yeah.
can you beat friendship and Exodia? The man is literally Yu-Gi-Oh on a plate.
Well, I got to admit sometimes the friendship does break apart. There are always, the
Whew.
scene. No, no, no. There are always scenes, in the anime where they're really good friends, but then something happens, they break apart, and they come together, and that's when the power of friendship shines, right? So now the question for Etor will be, in addition to balancing out and getting the Exodia, which stage of that anime is he in? Is he in the end phase where everything's popping off, or will he go through the middle stage during the tournament where things will get a little bit more rocky? That will be something up. But Rich Game Buddy, Green Epic, and Entropy
Just
definitely
so the
very
viewers,
chill group of people. But continue.
yeah, just so that our viewers can appreciate as much juicy content, the spiciest of all chicken sandwiches. I want to see the entire hero's journey. I want to see them
Hmm.
initially all bright eyed, bushy tailed, you know, greenhorns, and I want to see them struggle together. We get the scene where there's a slight betrayal, maybe something doesn't go quite right, but then they come back together in the end, and we get like the final boss battle montage where they look out into they have their backs turned against the explosion. The final boss is
Yep.
dying in the background, and they just have their sunglasses as they look out into the sun. Or
Uh,
actually, they turn away from the sun, but they're all Gucci in the
yeah.
end. But actually, Paul, before we continue on in our analysis, I actually think that there's a group draw going on.
Oh, all right. Well, let's transition over quickly. There's absolutely so if I remember correctly, for the group draw, hopefully we will see sooner or later, but apparently they are doing some random drafting or random number generator, and it will be shown in the background. So hopefully they'll let us know, or they will update it, or they are updating it right now with Madre the Flame on Group A. But I guess we'll have to.
Okay, Captain,
So any
let's
up?
go.
Oh, so Madre and Isla people are on the same squad. They are both ADC captains, and we'll have to see how things pan out. And also, if I remember correctly, back in 2017, 2018, JP Morgan and was the support for Isla people. Now JP Morgan probably played the top lane, but we'll have to see how that goes on. But JS Bach also being picked for Group A, and honestly, that's a that's a that's a Williams college tournament team right there. Madri the Flame was not part of the original 5-man squad that was Isla People, JS Bach, ZMax, Sober, Teddy, and JP Morgan. But we'll have to see how things pan out. But currently, Yitor getting picked into Group A and Xfampy into Group B. So we have one more slot left for Group A. Who do you think will make it to Group A? It's a
I
just
hope
throwing
it's Riot
shots.
ZMax, and that way we get the El Classic Williams El Clasico, where all of the classic Williams Discord, Dark Williams Discord
Hmm.
celebrities come together, and they have a battle of egos. Um,
But
so I'm really
apparently, mhm,
hoping that it is. Oh, okay, but who is it
Sober
again?
Teddy. It's
Sober Teddy.
it.
Oh, so it's still part of the El Clasico
Yep.
group. This is
So
this is the
yeah, and Sober Teddy was the top laner back in the I Love People JS Bach days. So they still have those portions, but it seems like Group A and Group B has been finalized. Group A is Madre the Flame, I Love People, JS Bach, Yitor, and Sober Teddy. And Group B will be Xfampy, Voidless, Kinney, Riot ZMax, and Mango Stalker. Any thoughts on how the group draw went?
Oh, I think this is super spicy. We have so many different teams with different win conditions or styles of playing the game.
Mm-hmm.
Um, for instance, we have J.S. Bach, who he's more of a slow and steady player. He'll like steadily push his advantage, and then he'll end up doing a shit ton of damage out in team fights later on. But he's got to build up to that. He's got to get to that crescendo. In the meantime, right, Riot ZMax, the man basically lives in Vegas. He coin tosses, and if it's heads, he carries, and if it's tails, you might press tab and he might be 0 and 5. But when he carries, the man carries.
Yes.
So we got all these different players with different play styles mashed up together, and I'm just super excited to see how it's going to shake out. Paul, do you have a favorite?
So as I've said, I always say that Riot ZMax he deserves to win. I don't know if he will, but honestly, Riot ZMax picked Lady Tree, and now I kind of don't want him to win.
What? Paul, you can't be showing blatant favoritism here. I'm not saying Madre's going to win just because I'm on his team.
No, I just don't
You
want
got you
Riot
got to give me at
ZMax.
least a secondary. So Riot Z-Max is your preferred winner, but who's your
Okay,
secondary?
okay. Good question. Honestly, I want that. You talked about Yitor and the power of friendship. I want to see power of friendship. I just want to see power of friendship. But okay,
Okay, he wants to see
okay.
the
So let me
power
just
of
put it.
friendship and ARAM.
Yes, it's honestly this is blatant favoritism because I'll be honest, I don't know the majority of the players, so and I have a memory of a goldfish. I don't I will not be able to remember who got picked by whom. That is my flaw. But on that note, let's actually go back to the talking about the specific captains and their team composition. And we left off, we finished, or we talked about Etor. So, any thoughts on Team Voidless?
I think Team Voidless is all about synergy. Um, a lot of a lot of the players on this roster, almost all of them can carry on their own, and I think that means you have a 5 prong like threat. What I'm excited to see is Captain Voidless and Liquid Blade together. They are
Mm-hmm.
both pretty opinionated. They'll kind of drive each other. I believe Liquid Blade was a captain in a previous. Was he
Yes.
captain? He was
Yes.
a captain in a previous
Yes.
or previous Williams
In
College
some
tournament.
previous tournament, yes.
Yeah, so I'm interested to see like an almost co-captain esque experience where you get two spears leading and leading that charge. Uh, so that's what I got to say about
Yeah.
Elijah.
On that note, how about Sober Teddy and his squad? If I remember correctly, you were talking about the flexibility in Fyro and NA, if I remember correctly. Any thoughts on that?
Wait, I actually don't know the roster for Sober Teddy quite as well, but so let's go through. NA
Mm-hmm.
is a mid main. Pharaoh's Phil, Sober Teddy himself is top lane. Cherry Boba is actually quite flexible. He can either be support or top lane. And Eris Saxon is going to be another Phil player.
Mm-hmm.
So that is a team just chock full of different variations. We're gonna see. I'm actually interested where they end up putting people.
Yeah, and honestly, they could have the advantage of, switching people around and, you know, different. I do remember Cherry Boba has played a couple of top tank matchup, whereas Sober Teddy has been playing Irelia among other things, and so it's a question of you
Ooh.
draft one way and they just say heck we're switching things up. How are you going to stop us? And honestly, that will be something exciting to look into. On that note,
Yeah, most definitely,
mhm,
Paul. What do you think about Kenny's team?
honestly, I can't say much. Well, Kenny is the ADC main, so I do know that I'm always a since I'm an ADC player, I'm always a believer in that in the worst case scenario, in the worst of worst, ADC will carry. But that's their role, right? So it's a question of it's built around the Captain Kenny. So it's a question of how great they will be in terms of pulling things in their favor. And the first thing I have to look for is who's their jungler? Boot lane is a fail player, so we'll have to see how he goes. Have you seen Boot lane on his jungling role?
It's been a long time,
Mm-hmm.
but I do remember Bootlane being fantastic in the previous tournament that we saw him. And Fluke as well. I think they have a very strong lineup. Angus McRib, really a solid rock up in top lane. He has a fantastic Poppy. He has a fantastic Tom Kench. He's gonna just play like like big bulky champs with a lot of utility who you can't really punish very hard. So I think Kenny's team is really well rounded.
Yeah, and yeah, it's honestly, yeah. On that note,
Okay, so I want you to talk about Riot C-Max,
okay,
your favorite for the tournament,
okay.
even before the draft.
No, 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 no. So he was up there. He was like I hope so. So my statement before was that Riot ZMax deserved the win. Okay, it was his. It was
Oh, okay.
rightfully his. But now that he drafted Lady Pick,
Okay.
he should fight for it.
Okay.
No, but on that note, Riot ZMax, a very solid jungler and inspiring 309. Yeah, they're both jungling duos, but if I remember correctly, they've been doing so they might be able to pull some cats out of hat and be able to do some switch route. On the other hand, Warkola, he has been captain previously. He's just been busy with work or whatnot, and he just hasn't been playing. But honestly, Shen is something to be noted, and along with other top laners, that's a really really solid pick.
Oh, it.
Hmm.
I think Work Wallet with Riot ZMax or any other captain who has a habit of being banned is amazing
Yes.
because Work Wallet is an instant Chen ban.
Hmm.
So the fact that you have one guaranteed ban against your team means that the other teammates have, like their pool available.
Yeah.
So it's fantastic to draft people with shallow pools as long as you know that they can play other champions. And we certainly know that Workawala can play other champions.
Yep.
He plays basically all the moms,
Oh. Yep. Yep.
all of them.
Yeah, and what I'm going to presume is a first Seraph, who I don't know much about. He's a field player, but I'm suspecting that he'll probably go as an ADC. And Lady Tree, man, I'm too close to her. I'm very biased. She always says that she deserves the same rank as I do, and because of that, and because I don't rank anymore, I think she should go into Iron 4, which is where my heart is at. But yeah, honestly,
Amen,
it's
brother.
it's
That's the best rig.
it's honestly though, in terms of picking around, I'll have to find out or we'll have to find out how well the Riot ZMax Inspiring 309 their positioning will go out. But other than that, I think Riot ZMax also may have his Exodia.
Yeah, I definitely think so. Thanks to First Seraph for being so flexible. I think they have a really bang out roster. I do believe
Mm-hmm.
Ben and Spenny, right? ZMax Inspiring 309 will switch mid and jungle depending on how like what's needed.
Yeah.
I don't. Oh, actually, wait. Inspiring 309 has been practicing ADC, so he
Oh.
actually might be putting Inspiring 309 in ADC, and we might see first Seraph in mid lane depending on what's needed.
And on that note, I really should move over to Mango Stalker. But before I do that, I will have to say, dear Inspiring 309, good luck not getting KS. Maybe I
What?
have been doing with Lady Tree in the past. There were too many moments when she's a better player than I, so she takes the kills, and I sometimes maybe that is
Okay,
the
okay, wait, Paul. Hold
yeah.
up, hold up, hold up.
Okay, okay.
I'm not biased or
Okay, okay,
anything, but
okay.
as the ADC, you shouldn't be getting these kills.
What do
No,
you
no, no.
mean? No, the ADC
Lady Tree
deserves the
worked for
kill.
them.
Lady Tree
No,
has
no,
been
you get the
doing some stuff.
CS and the support gets
No,
kills.
no, no, no,
And
no.
then
That
maybe
that
if we feel generous, we'll toss you some assist money. And there you
Oh
go.
god. Oh
Okay, but
god.
moving forward,
Yeah.
yeah, Mango Stalker. We talked about XXX Teemo main XXX, but the actual Teemo main in this roster is probably
Yep.
Mango Stalker,
Yep.
one of the highest rated Teemos in the entire NA server probably. This guy is an absolute menace, and I've seen his games. He's the real deal.
And on that note, Brishan, if I remember correctly, Lady Tree, when she won her tournament, Brishan was part of the squad with his Malzahar, and his Malzahar is something unforgettable because honestly, how do you stop a split pushing Malzahar by yourself? How? That
You
is,
don't.
yeah, that's just
I learned that lesson plenty of times from Bershin, from Dr. Omegalol.
hmm
You don't stop the split pushing Malzahar. You
yeah.
know,
And okay, so this is a side story, a complete side story. But once upon a time, I played mid lane as a Malzahar against SK Telecom T1. I could have ended the game. This is once again how why I'm a bad player, but I could have won the game 0-0 when SK Telecom T1, I think it was like 6-1 and 4 or something like that, because I was just split pushing all the time. So you cannot ignore that split pushing. And on that note, we have King of Conquest LV. There's also his duo King of Conquest VL Hismar. But on that note, he has been challenger in TFT, so you know that he does have the brains, and he has been playing a lot of those jungles in the past, and he has been jungling. And on that note, Plight of the Flake, I must admit I don't know too much about him, but he's an ADC main and followed up by Dreamter. Can you tell me much about Dreamter himself?
Yeah, Dream Eater Kazi is a support main. He joined the Discord relatively like
Mm-hmm.
for I guess for the last winter a little basically, and since then he's been practicing super hard. I'm gonna say again that he's a fantastic enchanter support. He's been like filling out his roster a lot more. I think he's a very solid like last or like fourth round pick. And he puts in the hours. I think that's something super understated. Like people who are willing to show up, practice with the team, play games. Um,
Mm-hmm.
that's going to be really important.
Yeah, and in addition to that, if I remember correctly, the two of them should be they are recently came to Williams. So if I remember correctly, they probably have duo together a lot. That is additional synergy that could happen, but of course we'll have to find out what will happen into the future. So that is overall just general chat about draft. I mean, I talked about who my favorite is, or quote unquote who deserves a win until something happened. But how about you? Who do you think is the favorite to win the tourney?
Oh man, I think it's really hard to call it.
Yeah.
But I actually think this tournament might just go. Oh, actually, wait. Let's divide it by Group A and Group B.
Okay.
Sorry, can
Okay.
you
Yeah.
switch us over to see who's in A and B?
Right here. It would be So let's actually talk about Group A first. Moderate the Flame, I Love People, JS Bach, Yitor, and Sober Teddy. On that note, who do you think will make it out? We have to choose 2 out of 5, if I remember correctly.
I actually think Yitor might make it out.
I honestly think, this honestly this is hard. This is hard. This is definitely hard.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Yeah.
But my bets, as much as I don't want Moderate the Flame to make it up there, I think he'll probably make it. And I think my second bet will. I honestly favor Yitor over JS Vok. I
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a bit biased because I'm actually on this
Yeah.
on one of the teams, but I think the two teams making out of Group A will probably be Yitor and Madre the Flame.
Yeah.
Um,
It's honestly it will be something. Honestly, I want to see how the Exodia kicks in for JS Vok, but yeah, I think, and it's also because the Sober Teddy, I think it's really hard to predict because they're so flexible. Perhaps another way to say
yeah,
flexible is that perhaps they don't have as strong of a mastery on their specific role. And of course, that will be the question of, well, how strong are they? Like, how well rounded, how can they turn their well roundedness into their advantage? So that's something that's really hard for me to predict. Whereas for Moderate the Flame, he does have that solid bot lane that can push through, that can shove through. And honestly, I'm a very cautious person. So, in terms of like who will win, if you have a solid plan that you can go back to. And if your plan is the ADC can in the end do stuff, I think that's it. And same thing around the similar case for Etor as well. I'm biased. Yes, I like ADCs.
I think all the teams
Hmm.
can definitely take a game off each
Of
other. I don't
course,
think
of
anyone is
course.
into draft. We see all the captains here with trying their best to take the title. So I don't know. These are entirely shots in the dark,
Yeah.
but you can't rule out Madre the Flame. He has won
Hmm.
3 titles, or
Yes.
actually, is it 2 titles? And this would be the third. I
Um, I'm not
I
too
always
sure. I
forget.
can fully remember. So he has one with Lady Tree. He has won
Hmm.
once with Ducky, and he may have won once more, but I don't remember on top of my head.
Okay. I do have confirmation. He has won 3 winter, or sorry,
Hmm.
not winter lulls. He has won 3 Williams College tournaments.
Hmm.
So, you can't vote out SK Telecom.
Yeah. And on that note, how about Group B? Who do you think will make it out of Group B?
I think Group B I think Riot CMAX will make it out of Group B,
Hmm.
but not because of Lady G. Not like. And then if you don't make it, I'm not. Oh God, I just said that horribly. Wait, hold on. I'm not. I'm saying I'm not biased towards Lady Tree,
Uh-huh,
like my co-caster. Oh gosh, I'm trying to say. Oh gosh, I'm trying to say that. Red DMX has almost always made it to semifinals or finals, and that's usually when he hasn't intentionally like thrown the draft because because he has a lot of synergy with the people. He plays a ton, and he just has shot calling, and I think it's super like shot calling is super underrated,
hmm.
and
Yeah.
it's something very hard to like quantify or point out unless you just know these people.
Yeah, and honestly, chat's honestly on fire. And honestly,
Gosh,
that was, you just flaming your fellow support. That's all I'm going to tell you.
I'm so sorry, Angela. I do me too.
But on that note, if you say that Riot ZMax is one of them, how about the other person? Because honestly, I think honestly, past couple of tournaments, there have been, quote unquote favorites. I do remember the year that I Love People has won. He has drafted phenomenally, and some picks that should not have
Hmm.
been should not have been gone unnoticed did. And if I remember correctly, I Love People was able to drop SK Telecom T1 and Rich Game Buddy together, and that's a really powerful thing. But on that note, this draft is a lot more well-rounded, a lot more done in a
Yeah, I
manner.
get.
Yeah.
I think all the captains have done a fantastic job with their drafts.
Yeah.
They like no one threw it, just for the laughs, and they're
Hmm.
they're all here to win.
Yeah, and honestly, the overall shift of things, overall champion pools and whatnot, have been very well laid out. For example, Mango Stalker, or to be precise, I do know that Green Pig has been drafting for Mango Stalker, and this draft has been pretty solid. He's gotten his lanes all nice and happy. Kinney on his drafting is also really solid. If I remember correctly, Kinney is an ADC main, and honestly, I'm biased. I'll be blunt. If you have a strong ADC who can carry the way through, that's always a great plan. Boydless, on the other hand, he's getting his synergies as well as his teammate, and Xfampy. Well, as you've said, he himself is the carry role, and he can distribute out whatever needs to be. So honestly, Group A, Group B, really even really hard to predict. I'm just big fan of Riot ZMax, or as I've said, I think he deserves a win, or not. He nined. He's
Hmm.
okay. You know what? When when people signed up, there was a in-house and Flame Beedrews. Yeah, that's a man. So I think that
Hmm.
eventually there should be a time. If you go through enough iteration, there will be a universe in which Riot ZMax will get the win. But best of lucks to him and rest of the captains as well. definitely did solid job regarding draft. I do know that there have been proxy drafters and there are trustworthy advisors who are helping out in terms of draft. So I think the draft overall has been really well done. Now they have 2 weeks to prep for everything. And that will be another
Mhm.
major factor in deciding who will come on top and who will fall. And, you know, yeah. But any final word you want to add on to this situations?
Oh yeah, my quick throw is that for Group B, I'm expecting Riot ZMAX and Voidless to get out.
Oh.
I feel like I am a bit inaccurate though because
Mm-hmm.
I don't actually know how good Kenny is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can see that he's extremely good. I mean, with his
Yes.
like solo queue and flex queue,
Yep.
but and I know he plays a lot, but I haven't seen him play myself,
Mm-hmm.
so I can't I just don't know how he is as a player. So I'm assuming he's good, but
Mm-hmm.
just I don't know how good.
Yeah.
And I think everybody in Group B, again, very close drafts. They could probably all take a game off each other. I actually am super excited. I kind of want to see like a 4-man tie if that's possible.
Oh,
I don't
that
even
would
know
be
like what ties are possible, but I want to see them.
four-man tie should definitely be possible if one man wins all games and then the other four gets a 2-win, 3 losses, right? So we have a 4-0 and a 2-3,
So
2-3, 2-3, 2. That would be crazy to watch. That would be crazy to watch for sure. And I hope that these tournaments will become a lot more even and balanced out because back in the past, back into the very beginning, I do remember there were tournaments where some team went 0-4, and honestly, those types of games are, as as a future caster who will be casting these specific games. Honestly, I want to watch something exciting. Like, sure, it's my favorite. Perhaps my favorite may not win, but if I get to watch some fun game, that's all I care about. Because I don't have stake in this. Whereas you,
yeah, that's what we're here
yeah,
for. I mean, of course, I want to win.
yep,
I haven't won any of these tournaments yet,
hmm,
but you know, at the end of the day, we're all here just for great
yeah,
games of League of Legends. So,
yeah. But
that
you can never get rid of the fact that I've won the tournament. Have you? Madre the Flame currently on the Discord has his name as God because among other things, he definitely has won a lot of tournaments. So we'll have to see how things pan out for captains and his crews. It's like what was that pirate anime? The One Piece. They've gotten their original
One
five-man crew.
Piece.
We'll have to see how well they do and so forth and so on. But any final thoughts?
uh, no, that's it for me, Paul. Thank you everybody for showing up for draft. It was an absolute blast casting this with you, Paul,
Yep.
and I'm excited to see the games. So when are the games starting, Paul?
If I remember correctly, it does start next 2 weeks from now on July 31st and August 1st. July 31st will be the group stage, and the August 1st will be the tournament round. And if I remember correctly, they generally start 12 p.m. PST, 3 p.m. EST in 2 weeks from now on. And as
Okay,
Mono
folks,
Entropy
join
has
us
said, yeah,
back.
it will be July 31st at 3 p.m. 3 p.m. EST.
Okay. Well, yeah. As Paul and Entropy have said, come back July 31st, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for some spicy games of League of Legends to go along with your, spicy chicken sandwiches. I feel like all the fast food companies are just doing spicy chicken sandwiches right now.
Mm-hmm.
Kick back, relax. Oh, and if you're part of this tournament, tell your captains to think of some nice names, some funny names
Yes,
for for the tournament.
absolutely. I still remember sung in as Michael Jordan. What was it, Chicago Bulls 1990 something? That was a great name, especially because they've won. And honestly, those things, maybe it's a name. Maybe if you name after something legendary, you will become a legend to be remembered. But on
Wait,
that
well,
note,
my favorite name was definitely Shrimp King. That is
ah,
straight to the point and with a
ah,
theme. Shrimp King.
hmm. Well, on that note, I suppose this will be the end of the draft show. Thank you so much for watching, and this was Paul and
Anna, signing off. Goodbye, everybody.
bye bye.